Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest edition of the CR7 podcast. The RTGAC is back, and today we are coming to you live on this Tuesday morning at 11:15. A little bit of an update. We probably won't have a podcast for next week on Tuesday. We probably will have to move it maybe to Wednesday or Thursday. We'll get that figured out once we get closer to that date. We both will be down the shore, just in case anybody was wondering about that. But before we get into anything else, Cole, say what's up to the people.
How's it going, everybody? Good to be here. Good to be here. Summer's winding down, Ryan. We're only a couple out of September, and September, the feeling sets in, if you know what I'm saying. So, I'm happy because we'll be back in person. I'm excited for this episode.
Very excited. We will be back in studio in about 2 weeks now. Crazy to think we all started this in June, and now we are moving on. We're into late August. We have a lot to talk about today. But something I've been doing this past week is, Cole, I've been picking up on my MCU. I have been grinding out MCU movies because I have not watched the MCU from when I was younger, like most people have. So I've been grinding them out. I've made an entire list on my notes of the movies that I need to watch. And here it all is. That this includes X-Men and the Spider-Man. So I'm trying to grind all that out, and I'm trying to do all the shows and all that. So I just wanted to talk about that here because something I'm trying to get done, something I'm proud of, that I've watched all the movies and shows. I'm on Ant-Man currently, so yeah, I'll give an update next Wednesday, Thursday, whenever we do the episode. But to get into the rundown of today's show, we will be doing our weekly Phillies recap. We'll actually be moving on from our weekly Phillies recap soon. I don't even know how we're going to figure that out because we have to do the Eagles, then we still have the Phillies, but we'll figure it out when we get there. UFC 305 just went down. Dricus Duplessis retained the middleweight championship against Israel Adesanya. We'll be talking about that, and as well as the entire card. Then we'll be reacting to the UFC 308 card announcement. Moving into the NFL, the Eagles got a preseason win over the New England Patriots. We'll talk about who looked good, bad, and anything in between. And the Falcons, they are going all in. They traded for Matthew Judon and signed Justin Simmons this past week. We'll be talking about them and our expectations and our predictions for the Falcons this season. Moving over into the NBA, Yabusele, who played for the French national team and dropped 20 points and dunked over LeBron in the gold medal game, signs with our Philadelphia 76ers. We'll be talking about that and our expectations for him. And Austin Riley out for 6 to 8 weeks with a hand injury. Cole will give his new prediction on the Atlanta Braves and their playoff hopes, and then we'll wrap it up with Ryan's rant. Cole, in this past week, the Phillies, went 4-2. Talk about this team.
Yeah, Ryan, this team, going into this week, I was not excited because, this Marlins team, they've owned the Phillies in the past. And, they come out this first game and they just completely deal. Belozo on the mound was almost perfect. No runs through 7 innings, 4 strikeouts, a walk, and 4 hits. He was just phenomenal on the mound. Xavier Edwards was a great leadoff hitter that series for them. He's leading that team in WAR, and he's been on the team for a couple months. So, he's been great in the leadoff spot for them. Moving on to our team, we just didn't do anything this game. A couple hits scattered throughout the lineup. Walker got, absolutely cooked in the beginning of the game. Four innings with 3 earned runs. You just hate to see it. And then Estevez, me and Ryan were talking a little bit before this. Estevez has not been good with the Phillies at all. I was at, the game versus the Nationals, the second game, where Nola pitched, and, he happened to blow the save, and we still ended up winning. But, it is something to, keep an eye on moving closer and closer to October. Then you got this second Miami game, and you just ball out here. Tyler Phillips was horrible. I'll start off with that. 4 and a third, 5 earned runs, 9 hits. That's just you can't give up 9 hits and not expect to get absolutely rocked. Then looking at the lineup, Kyle Schwarber saved our season in the 4th inning of that game. Down 5-2. What were you on, like a 4-game losing streak or what? Something
around
5-game losing streak at home. Oh my gosh, it was just wonderful. Schwarber comes up, hits a bomb with the bases juiced, and then we pile on some more in the 7th with a couple of hits. Just a great all-around game. Just multiple hits from, ton of guys throughout the lineup. Marsh, Muto, Stott, Bohm, Harper, and then Schwarber 1 for 5, but I don't really care because he had a grand slam. And then you go into this Nationals series very confident in yourselves because, this isn't a good Nationals team. They traded away all their stars. Lane Thomas is gone and whatnot. You're facing Patrick Corbin the first. Oh, yeah. Wait, was it Patrick Corbin? No, it was Parker the first game. Wheeler threw a gem. He was beautiful through 5 innings. In that last inning, they just got to him a little bit. I think it was Call who hit a home run. Or Ruiz, yeah. Ruiz hit a home run. Props to him. He got a little hanger over the plate, I think. But, I'm looking at Turner right now, 3 for 5, 2 runs, 2 RBIs. He's been great. NL Player of the Week, I think. He's been solid. Bohm, Castellanos, Weston Wilson hit for the cycle that game. Props to him. This was just a blowout. We piled it on. 1st through 4th inning. It's probably the best we've looked this August. Moving on to the next game, you take a look at this game. You'd think Turner hit for the cycle, 4 for 5, an RBI. Nola was good. They happened to get, that double. He was at 111 pitches. I didn't think he was going to go off the 7th, but he did. Made quick work in the first 2 outs, then a walk and a double. And then they brought in Strom. He locked it down. Then they brought in Hoffman. And then Estevez came in the 9th, and he was just absolutely horrible. 30 pitches, 2 earned runs. He's just not been up to par what he was on the Angels earlier this year. Cal Stevenson comes in. Or first of all, Marsh hits a double, and then Cal Stevenson plays a beautiful bunt, may I add. And then, I think Schwarber walked or something, and then Turner just hit a bomb. I thought it was going out, but I would have loved for it to go out. Walk-off grand slam, but, it's all right off the wall. And then you're looking for the sweep at this point. You go into this next game, Christopher Sanchez with a complete game. He was absolutely phenomenal. Only 2 hits, 1 earned run, 99 pitches. He finished his game under 100 through 9 innings. He was like 65 through 7. He was just keeping the pitch count low the entire game. That's where Call hit a home run off a breaking ball over the plate. He literally made 1 mistake the entire game, and it was that breaking ball to Alex Call. Other than that, most of the guys did solid. Castellanos multi-hit. Weston Wilson multi-hit. No home runs, just hitting the ball well. Just squaring up baseballs. Mackenzie Gordon didn't do well that start, and then you go in for the sweep on Sunday. James Wood hit an absolute bomb. I just want to point that out. 415 to right center, dude. He's got a bright career ahead of him. Turner again, 2 for 4. He's been lights out this last week. Stott had a bomb. Stott and Marshall went back-to-back. Taijuan Walker, man, he continues to disappoint me more and more. Jake Irvin didn't even have a solid day on the mound. 6 innings, 4 runs, and, we can't, do anything on the pitching side for us there to help out the offense. Alvarado was the only reliever, didn't give up a run. Just a bad pitching day. You probably want to flush that heading into the Braves series. Now you got Braves away. Royals, I believe, is away as well. It is. And, this Braves team, they're riddled with injuries. I think this should be somewhat of an easier series. You got Nola versus Fried game 1. And then you got Schwellenbach versus Sanchez. That'll be a good matchup as well. I mean, these are all great pitching matchups, but when you look at the lineups, I mean, this is just not a great Braves squad. As we've seen in the past, Acuna's out. I believe Harris is out. Albies still might be out. Riley out 6 to 8 weeks. I'll give my predictions on them later, but I mean, you're looking good for this Braves series as long as you can hold it down pitching wise. And then, with the Royals, I mean, Bobby Witt's been hot, but other than that, their starting pitchers are starting to pull down. Brady Singer, Seth Lugo, guys like that. So, Ryan, I'll turn it over to you now.
Alrighty, so I mean, a lot better of a week. I don't want to say I don't want to be that negative and say, oh, it's the Nationals. We're looking too far into it, saying the season is safe because it's the Nationals. But honestly, I don't care. But the way the Phillies were playing, they were playing like absolutely terrible. And honestly, anything could have helped the Phillies get their confidence back. And if that means taking 3 out of the 4 to the Washington Nationals, I really don't care. In my opinion, the season is probably saved by Kyle Schwarber for now, depending on how they look against injury-riddled Atlanta, Kansas City, and Houston. We'll see, where they actually are there. But currently, they're number 1 in the MLB. They're back to being, great again, I guess you could say. But I'll go over the games individually now. I mean, Tuesday, that's when the Phillies were just looking absolutely terrible. Nobody played good at all. Taijuan Walker has been looking like absolute, I don't even know. There's not even a right word for it. That's how terrible he has looked. The hitting was terrible. I mean, the pitching in this game was terrible. Nobody could get anything going. I think there's only like 4 hits the entire game. Everybody looked bad. Have Walker give up 3 runs. And then everybody's favorite pitcher, Tanner Banks, comes in the game, and he gives his, my mustache is more beautiful than his. I'm gonna point that out. And then you have Estevez, who Cole has mentioned has not looked the same since coming over from Los Angeles. I get Los Angeles is a lot warmer, and there's a lot more things to do. But you're getting paid how much money to pitch the damn ball to close the game, and you can't even do that. But I won't, rain on his parade that much because it was a 4-0 game before he even came in. But yeah, this game mostly blame that on the hitting because Miami scored 5 runs the very next game and we scored 9. This is where Kyle Schwarber pretty much saved the season. I'm not going to give anybody any more credit because nobody else deserves any more credit more than Kyle Schwarber. Obviously, you scored a run, you were down 5-2 before he came up to the plate, and then Schwarber turned everybody on with the grand slam. I understand Bohm and Real Muto both got RBIs, driving in runs, and guys before that were on base. But I think that this was Kyle Schwarber's game, and I don't think anybody deserves as much credit as Kyle Schwarber does for this week. While Cole has mentioned, many games that he had, he was going 0 for 4, 1 for 5, stuff like that. But he definitely saved the season, so we should definitely be giving him more credit than people are doing so here. And then looking at the pitching for this game, I mean, you look at it, you have Phillips who gives up 5 runs, but then everybody comes in and everybody does something. Obviously Jose Alvarado and Jeff Hoffman give me a heart attack every time they come up to the mound. But they did a good job there. Ruiz, I mean, he came in there, he got 2 outs. But yeah, Phillips, who seems like a one-hit wonder for the Philadelphia Phillies. He came in there, pitched a few good starts, and now it seems like he's shot right back down to earth. And now he is not doing as well as we'd hoped for. The good thing about him and Walker is that we most likely won't see them during the playoffs as we have Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, probably when he most likely comes back, and Christopher Sanchez. They will be pitching once playoff time comes around, so they won't have to deal with them there. They will most likely be relievers, so hopefully they do better in that role. But moving on, and then you come in on Thursday. I mean, nothing really could go wrong. The hitting just, got its magic fairy dust that it does once every 2 weeks, and they score over 10 runs. And then the pitching was great. Obviously, Wheeler came in there, pitched very, very well. Then you come in on Friday. I mean, it was really the Trey Turner game. You know, he pretty much saved us in this one. Obviously, the walk-off home run or the walk-off hit. He goes 4 for 5 here. If it wasn't for him, then he definitely would not have. The Phillies definitely would not have won this game in any way, shape, or form. So this was the Trey Turner game. I don't care what the rule book says. Don't give Carlos Estevez that win. After giving up those runs, he should have gotten the save because he was absolutely terrible in that last inning. And then you got to go ask Trey Turner to bail you out after we gave up 2 prospects that were supposed to be good. He just given it.
And guess what? I'll go as far as say Cal Stevenson was the reason they won that game with the bunt that he had.
Right. He did it. He was well.
I mean, the first one he fouled off, and then with 1 strike, he puts one in between the pitcher and the third baseman.
Right.
Whew.
I mean, and then you come in on Saturday. As Cole mentioned, Sanchez only made 1 mistake, complete game for him. So, yeah, not really much to complain about. I mean, I feel like with the Phillies, not just this week, but in general, ever since they've been on the slump, anytime they do get runs, it's kind of within a 3-inning margin. That's how it feels. Like it's just 3 straight innings. They do hot, and then, and for the rest of the game, they're just absolutely terrible. So I'm not really sure why that is the case, but I guess it is. But yeah, once again, not much to complain about there. 1 little mistake, the hitting turned on in the 4th inning. Other than that, Sanchez played fine. Then he come in on Sunday. Pretty disappointed he didn't get the sweep here because you started out 2-0. You were hot, and then you just start to collapse in the last few innings. Obviously, you were able to tie it at 4 in the 6th inning. But then, I mean, who was the man who pitched in the 8th inning? If you tell me that it's Tanner Banks, I actually might flip. I think Strom and Hoffman, they both came in, and they pitched absolutely terrible. Strom is not absolutely terrible, but Strom has not looked the same since the All-Star break. And then, of course, everybody's favorite pitcher, Tanner Banks, comes in and, gives up a run. Tyjon Walker, once again, 3 earned runs. You thought you could get away with it, but you thought you could get away with pitching him and not playing, Harper or Rojas or Real Muto. But obviously you cannot eke your way out of that one there. But, I mean, the Phillies looked a lot better. There really wasn't much to complain about. The bullpen is something to be desired. Obviously, Walker and Phillips are going to have to pick it up. The hitting was really good this week. And now we move on to Atlanta. Hopefully, we can look a bit better there because we're on the road until next Monday. So I'm hoping we can show that we just can't beat up on bad teams, kind of what people were criticizing us in the beginning of the season. Obviously, with all these guys out for Atlanta, we probably should be okay. But I'm gonna take this National Series win with a grain of salt, and I think we should really be judging the Phillies based off what they do in the next 2 weeks. Any final words, Cole?
Yeah, especially I'm not sure they have Schwellenbach for the Braves going back-to-back games. But I don't know if we'll face Sale. I hope not, because it's going to be ugly. He's probably NL Cy Young right now. So I really wouldn't want to verse him. Freed, I think we could take. But, yeah, I just really don't want to see Sale on the mound for them.
I agree.
He's very intimidating. Anyways.
All right. I don't think I have any further questions for you on this. I feel like I feel like we all squared away what needs to be said and done.
And I will say one more thing. Mm-hmm. I think they should bring up Colby Allard for either Phillips or Walker. I mean, he was solid for us, to be honest with you.
At this point.
At this point, bring me up, dude.
I can't stand. At this point, Walker is just, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to some combat sports here. Not as much as we normally do in recent weeks. But we have the Contender Series tonight, which I'm pretty excited
what's
about.
That song?
Huh?
You know what that's on? Or not?
ESPN Plus.
Got it.
I love that. The Contender Series was great last week. I mean, I feel like every single fight there was a finish. I mean, it was so great. But we have a fight night card this weekend. I forgot to write that down in the notes, so we can predict that there. After we do talk about everything else. But I'm going to talk about this card here. Not really much on the prelims. Not really much excited me here. Obviously, there was a bit of controversy with the Ricardo Ramos and the or not the Ricardo Ramos, the Walter Walker and Junior Tafa with the submission. I understand the controversy. Do I think there really should be a controversy? No. I mean, obviously, there's like verbal tap outs and stuff like that. Obviously, he didn't tap himself, but I mean, it is what it is. What are you going to do? But moving on to the actual card, Carlos Prates versus Li Jingliang. I think the UFC accomplished what they wanted to accomplish here, which was getting Carlos Prates' name out there. Obviously, in 3 UFC fights, he has 3 knockouts, and everybody's talking about him, obviously, because he knocked out Leach, who has never been knocked out before. I mean, I was actually pretty impressed with Prates before the fight, or during the first round, because he wasn't really doing anything to start the fight. He was just kind of standing there. But then then in the end of the first round, he was able to pick it up. Then in the second round, he was obviously winning the fight. And then just a beautiful hook to end it. Leach really couldn't protect himself anyway, and he folded him. I mean, Jing Liang was out on the floor for at least a minute or two. It was a devastating hook that he gave him. Once again, Leach was just trying to get out of there, but he couldn't really defend himself, couldn't really get his hands up. Didn't really matter what he was doing, because Carlos Prates was going to find an answer for it. Just an absolute dominant showing for him in the end of the first round and the second round. And then you move on to Rosenstruck versus Tai Tuivasa. I did expect Rosenstruck to win this fight. He dominated this fight. I thought he won the first 2 rounds. I thought Tuivasa was able to take the second one. Rosenstruck really did not throw much in the last round. I think he was just trying to not get knocked out and just get the decision. I think he knew he was up on the cards. But that Phil Booth, and I'll talk about this in a bit after I get through the main card, got pulled from the Kai Kara France and Steve Erceg fight because he gave all 3 rounds to Tai Tuivasa. I don't know if he was paid or because he's just a fan of Tuivasa because it's in this was in Africa. I'm not really sure what the I'm sorry, not Africa, Australia. I'm not sure if that was the case, but whatever it was, that was a disgrace. 30-27 or to Tuivasa? Are you kidding me? He didn't even win 1 round. He won 1 round, and if Rosenstruck was just not trying to get knocked out, probably would have lost that round as well. If anything, it should have been 30-27 Rosenstruck. I had it 29-28, but the fact that judge had it 30-27, and the fact I have to come on here and talk more about the judge than the actual fight is really concerning. I'm glad the UFC pulled him from that. I think that should be done more in the future, but it is what it is. Next, Dan Hooker versus Gamrot in the fight of the night. This was a very good fight. I had Gamrot winning this fight. I don't think too many people agree with me on that one, but I thought he had a lot of ground control time, and there were rounds where I thought that he was up to par with Dan Hooker in the striking. Obviously, Dan Hooker had him beat in the striking, but Dan Hooker still undefeated when it comes to split decision victories. So if you ever hear a split decision, expect Dan Hooker to win that. He moved up very, very high. He is now number 5 on the lightweight rankings. I don't think that if he faced Islam again, he would win. Apparently, they're looking for a fight between him and Charles Oliveira, possibly for an interim lightweight championship bout. In my opinion, I think the UFC should wait and just do Arman versus Islam for possibly next year, because you have lots of main events lined up. You obviously have 306, 307, 308 figured out. 309, you have John Jones versus Stipe. I mean, possibly for 3:10, you could do something. I'm not really sure. Maybe you can do Pantoja versus, I don't really, Kai Kara France, possibly, depending on if you would take that fight. Or there's I can't pronounce his name, Tyra, whatever, Kara, whatever his name is, the guy from Japan who is ranked like number 4, who beat Perez in his last fight. But yeah, but I guess you could do that at 310. So I wouldn't really do anything at lightweight to really be. It would kind of be stupid in my opinion to do all that, but I won't judge. I'm trying to get his name, the flyweight. I can't remember his name. Tara. Yeah, I was right, Tara. So maybe they'll give him a flyweight opportunity in December in the main event. I doubt 310. I don't know. I don't know. It's all weird. But Arman has to come back from. I think Arman deserves that interim lightweight championship opportunity because he is the number 1 contender currently. But anyway, moving on to the co-main event: Kai Kara France versus Steve Erceg. I think everybody expected Steve Erceg to win this fight. He was a heavy favorite coming in, and I think we all looked at his last fight against Alexandre Pantoja and was like, he could go with the best of them. He took 2 to 3 rounds over him, and the only reason that he didn't win that fight is because he went to the ground in that 5th round. There was no ground. There was nothing on the ground in this fight. It was just a stand up, and I think he got caught with an unlucky shot. I'm not really sure I could say he was winning that round, but he got caught with a lucky shot. I mean, well, not a lucky shot. The shot was actually timed perfectly. I mean, he was able to avoid that right hand, and then his head just kind of ran right into that left hand and got him brutally knocked down. It was a very sudden knockdown. I think the stoppage was a little premature. I think that it was early. I think that Erceg, he was, I don't want to say he was still conscious because that's obviously not how UFC fights are run. But I feel like he was definitely still able to defend himself in that moment. I think Kara France should have been could have had a little more ground and pound to finish the fight. Obviously, he got up right away, and it seemed like he was still in motion. He still understood where he was, what he was doing. The official was just holding him back. I'm not saying he wouldn't have gotten knocked out in the coming moments, but I'm just saying I think the stoppage and when it was done was a little too premature. And then in the main event, Dricus du Plessis, Israel Adesanya. Obviously, du Plessis was able to get the finish in the 4th round. Now, I want to talk about the 2nd round really quickly. I gave Adesanya that 2nd round after originally giving it to du Plessis. I want to change it again. Now, obviously, I probably can't do this after the fight, but I just want to say that I am probably, after watching it all back, I'm going to say that du Plessis won that 2nd round. So if the fight would have went into the 5th, I believe it would have been tied 2-2. And then honestly, it would have been interesting to see who would have won that there, but I guess we'll never know. Good reference right there. I hope, Cole, I hope you understood that one. But anyway, moving on. I thought that the ground game for du Plessis was very, very good. In that 2nd round, I thought he could have finished because he had Adesanya on his stomach, and he could have gotten the finish right there. It's just he overshifted and allowed Adesanya to escape and get up. But he had him in pretty much the exact same position he had him in the 4th round when he got that submission. He could have finished this fight a lot earlier. He just overshifted and allowed Adesanya to get out of there. But where I thought Adesanya went right was he was making a miss pretty much the entire fight. If you look in that third and 4th round, Cole, I mean, he was just dominating. He was just dominating on the feet. I mean, du Plessis was doing the thing where he was running at him with the punches, and Adesanya was just simply moving out of the way. He was making a miss on those punches where he was running at him, and he was landing his own counter punches. Du Plessis could not land anything in that 3rd round, and it really showed because everybody pretty much gave Adesanya that round, and I think a lot of people were giving Adesanya that 4th round until du Plessis was able to land those punches and get him to the ground. I think that where Adesanya messed up is that he was running around on his side and just kind of letting du Plessis, just punched him right in the face. I mean, he had no defense. Obviously, he couldn't move out of the way. He was not in a position to do that. But he at least should have been defending himself. He could have possibly gone up against the cage because you knew Duplessis was probably going to go for the takedown. So you could have got up against the cage and tried to defend yourself there. And if you would, I obviously wouldn't be too favorable if you got into a full guard or half guard position. But you could have possibly got yourself out of that. I thought Adesanya went wrong when he got onto the ground is that he was just way too easy for Duplessis. He let him, get into that rear naked choke. Obviously, he could have possibly gotten out of it. He couldn't have let it got fully locked in if he wouldn't have let Duplessis shift his entire body weight towards the middle of the cage. Adesanya should have been shifting his body weight to the cage and trying to get his feet closer to maybe to get a push off there. I think he had the opportunity. I don't have the footage right in front of me, but if he had the opportunity, he probably should have gotten his feet closer to the cage. But he just easily let Duplessis shift his body weight more to the middle of the cage and get that finish. At the end of the day, I'm not surprised that Duplessis was able to win here. Obviously, he has proved a lot of people wrong. Because I don't care if he won this fight or not. I still don't think he beat Sean Strickland in their first fight. But we will see in their rematch, whenever that goes down, who really should have won that first fight. So we'll have to see there. What Israel Adesanya does next, I don't really know. I mean, I guess you could say maybe move up to light heavyweight. Maybe it seems a little out of the ordinary, but I mean, what else can he really do at middleweight? I mean, as Daniel Cormier said in the post-fight interview, he's been in 12 straight title fights at middleweight. What else is there really to do? You've done pretty much everything in middleweight. You've beaten almost everyone other than Sean Strickland and Duplessis, who were the new up-and-comers, but you've beaten pretty much everyone at middleweight. So you've beaten Pereira, you've beaten Yoel Romero, you beat Anderson Silva. I mean, there really isn't anyone else that you can beat at middleweight. I would just say move up to light heavyweight and try and go for Alex Pereira once again. I think that would be a big moneymaker fight. I don't really know. But anyway, getting back to the actual championship, I think that you do Duplessis and Strickland, and then you do the win, and then they face the winner of Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev. But I won't talk anymore. Cole, you got anything on this card?
Yeah, I'll start with Prates versus Leach. So anyways, Prates, I mean, the second round, I mean, he was obviously in control, and then he finally got to him, got Leach a little bit wobbly, and then, finished him off there with the left hook, I believe. That was just gross. Then, yeah, all my picks were wrong. I'm going to just say that, just flat out. I had Tuivasa, and then I had Gamrot, then I had Erseg, and then I had Adesanya and
we were close to some of our picks. I mean,
I thought Gamrot could have won it. I mean, like you said, you might have thought he won, but I don't know. I think Hooker still won. But anyways, Rosenstruck, I mean, I don't know how that judge, thought Tuivasa won all 3 rounds. I mean, that's just absurd. Even I could tell he didn't win all 3 rounds. I thought Rosenstruck dominated this fight, I mean, very stand-up fight. Nothing went to the ground really at all. So, yeah. And then Hooker and Gamrot, I mean, this fight was pretty fun to watch. Gamrot kept going to the ground. I thought he had a lot of control time. But, I mean, Hooker, he was just solid, landing a lot of good punches and whatnot. He also had a little bit of control time, but, just got to tip your cap at that point, put up a good fight. And then Carter France, Erseg, I mean, I did not see this coming whatsoever. First-round knockout, Carter France. I think it's like he's had a bunch of first-round knockouts apparently in his career. So, I don't know. I think he's a contender at this point because I thought Erseg, if he won this, I thought he'd have a shot at a title fight. But I mean, Carter France, now this kind of flips the table a little bit. Now I think he should get a little bit of a shot for a title fight or something, of a higher, fight. Anyways, Adesanya Duplessis, Yeah, Adesanya. I do agree. I thought it was 4-4. Or I thought it was 2-2 for the rounds, but then obviously Duplessis got the rear naked choke. Yeah, I mean, I thought Adesanya was winning this fight completely. I mean, he was just landing his punches. Duplessis was kind of like lost a little bit, to be honest, most of the match, and then he finally started getting Adesanya to the ground a couple times. And then he had that one submission attempt earlier in the match, and then he finally got him in the 4th round. I mean, Adesanya, I thought if he stays on his feet, he will win this match, and it just didn't happen in the end. Yeah, I think if this went the distance, I think Adesanya would have took it. Yeah, Duplessis, I mean, he was just awesome. Yeah, I mean, I wonder who's gonna come to the title fight next for him, but yeah, I thought this was a great card. That's all I got on it, right?
I think Adesanya should move up.
Yeah.
What else?
There's not much left. I mean, I would want to see him versus Strickland, but you'd probably have to have DDP versus Strickland first.
Oh yeah, well then they need to do Robert Whitaker or Hamzat. So then
yeah, you're right.
And then you're
just. So then you're just moving it back and back, and you got to go up at some point. So
Adesanya doesn't have that much time left. Anyway, before I talk about UFC 308, I want to do a quick prediction here for Cannonier versus Borrallo. I'm gonna take Borrallo to win this fight. Cannonier, obviously he has the name, but Borrallo's 16-1 right now. I think I'll take him to win this one.
Yeah, I'll take Borrallo as well. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. He's been solid before. He's going to be solid this match. I got him.
Also, you see this, what do you call it? Michael Morales. I'm not surprised, but he is literally minus 950 on the betting line. If you're looking at it, minus 9. That is absolutely nuts.
16-0. Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, I like him. He's been.
You're about to watch the Spider-Man movies. Maybe you should do a little comparison.
Yeah, geez Louise. I mean, minus 950 on the line. But anyway, we're gonna move on here to the UFC. That 308. I wrote 308. I meant 307. I'm sorry. But anyway, let's move on here to UFC 307. I want to start off here. This is going to be an exciting fight. Wonder Boy versus Joaquin Buckley. I am very, very excited for this fight. I'm excited to see Wonder Boy on free TV. Come on now, you can't get any better than that. So yeah, I'm very excited for that fight. And then you got Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. Obviously, Dolidze moving back down the middleweight to take on Kevin Holland, who is currently ranked right now. And Dolidze, coming off his win over Anthony Smith at light heavyweight, I don't think people should doubt him here against Kevin Holland. But I think Kevin Holland, after his last win at very exciting armbar in the very first round, I don't think people should overlook him either. And Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. I think that Aldo is just trying to get all the fights done on his UFC contract so he could just probably go box here. I don't think that this fight really means much. I think the UFC is just trying to squeeze as much dollars out of him as possible while he still has fights left on his contract. So we'll have to see how he does there. I don't really think that fight matters that much. Aljamain Sterling versus the 18-0 Movsar Evloev. And now I'm actually pretty excited for this fight because obviously Evloev hasn't faced really this good of a wrestler and grappler as Aljamain Sterling. So that'll be a pretty good fight there. And I don't think Aljamain Sterling is just going to cruise his way to a win like he has in his past two featherweight fights. Like, he's pretty much dominated his first two featherweight fights. So I don't think that he will cruise to a win either. This is going to be a big, big test for both men. And whoever wins this probably could get a title shot in the near future. Actually, I might be lying there, but you get my point. Ketlin Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. I think the UFC is just kind of betting on Kayla Harrison to win, because if you weren't talking about Kayla Harrison, you definitely are now. I mean, this girl is just something at bantamweight. Obviously, she wants Amanda Nunes to come out of retirement. I think that the UFC is betting on Juliana Pena winning her fight against Raquel Pennington, who I'll get into in just a second. And I think they're betting on both fighters to win, and then they eventually have a clash that they obviously have been talking about each other in the media. Obviously, Juliana Pena, called out Kayla Harrison for possibly being on steroids. Kayla Harrison came back on her both this on the MMA Hour. So yeah, I think the UFC is hoping for that clash to eventually go down. So we'll have to see there. I think, and then obviously, I just mentioned it, Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. I'm not the biggest fan of both women, but I have not enjoyed Raquel Pennington's reign as women's bantamweight champion. So I'm kind of hoping Pena does win because I would like to see her versus Kayla Harrison. And then possibly Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes, saying she comes out of retirement. And then the main event, Poatan, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. Do I think Roundtree deserves this fight? No. I think that Magomed Ankalaev deserves this opportunity, but the UFC booked him in a different fight. I'm not sure when Ankalaev is going to get the shot. I don't know if the UFC is waiting to possibly move up Pereira to heavyweight, though Dana White doesn't seem too keen on Pereira moving up to heavyweight. So I'm not really sure why Roundtree deserves this opportunity. He hasn't really beaten anybody to get him this opportunity. Also tested positive for steroid or for drug use. So I'm not really sure why he gets this opportunity. I'm not saying that he's going to win. Obviously, a fighter always has a chance. Everybody has a fighting chance in anything. But Poatan has just looked so dominant in his last few fights. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets this done in the very first round. But yeah, 2 title fights. This is a very good card. I would argue that 307 and 308 are better cards than 306. But yeah, Cole, anything on this one?
Yeah, Ryan. I don't really have much, to be honest with you. I'll start with Kevin Holland. I mean, I'm excited for this fight. I think it'll probably be, the best fight on this card besides the 3, top ones. I'm very excited for that one. Not really excited for the Jose Aldo fight, to be honest with you. And then, you got Sterling versus Movsar. So you're hyping that up for me. So, I got to be hyped for that one as well. And then Kayla Harrison, I'm a fan of Kayla Harrison. I'm hoping she can get a title shot against Pena. So I'm hoping for Pena to win against Raquel Pennington. And then, like you said, maybe Nunes versus Harrison if she wins. That'd be very, very interesting. And then Pereira, Roundtree, I agree. I don't think Roundtree deserves this fight, but, yeah, I think Pereira's going to win this. I'm already going to give my prediction. I think Pereira's going to win this. Not even going to be close, to be honest with you. You always have a fighting chance, but not in this case. I don't believe Roundtree has any chance against Pereira. He's been so dominant in his last couple matches, so I don't know.
Right.
I'll give it back to you.
All right, so we're going to move on here. We'll move on to some NFL talk. I'll talk about our Philadelphia Eagles, who once again barely eked out a win over the New England Patriots, 14-13. Talk a little about the offense before I get into the defense. This is what I primarily want to talk about. Tanner McKee, really great game. I mean, not really much, to brag about. 15 for 19, 140 yards passing, but he was very accurate on his passes. He was good in the pocket. I thought that, he primarily had a very good game. Unlike Kenny Pickett, who did go 11 for 13, but only 67 yards passing. I'm not the biggest Kenny Pickett fan. Will he be a good backup? Yes, but I'm not saying that, he's anything special. But yeah, not really a great game for him. Tanner McKee, I really liked what he did there. I think he should be the backup for the Philadelphia Eagles, but that's neither here nor there. Then you go into the run game. I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more from Will Shipley. Only 5 carries, 3 yards per carry. With the carries he did have, I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more from him because obviously Davis Price was able to average 7 yards per carry, so I was kind of hoping to see more from him. But what are you going to do? Not really much on the receivers. None of these guys are really going to get an opportunity when it's all said and done. I mean, this guy, Nagata, did the Eagles, was he drafted by the, and I think he was undrafted. But yeah, so I mean, I feel like I've heard him. Yeah, this is his first season, but I feel like I've heard his name. Yeah, I feel like I've heard his name before. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, he had the best game. Other than that, not really much to really talk about. John Ross, 1 catch, didn't really play that much. Covey had a catch himself. So yeah, not really much on the offensive side of the ball. But defensively, I mean, I want to say Nakobe Dean had a decent game. I feel like he has to pick it up a bit more. Someone I did like was Zach Bond. I thought he played decent. He had a few tackles that were pretty impressive. That he was able to read the offense and kind of read where the play was headed to. So I thought that he made some good plays as well. I'm looking at Nolan Smith, who has had a very, very good preseason. He obviously has played very, very well. Had a sack and a tackle for loss. So I'm very happy with what he has been able to do. What he's been able to do there. So yeah. And then Huff got in there for a little bit, but not really too many reps to judge him. Maddox had an interception. He had an interception, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yes, he had an interception. A 47-yard return from the end zone. What was it called?
I said he took it back a long way.
Yeah, 47 yards from the end zone, and I'm very happy to have Maddox back, as I mentioned, because he could really play anywhere. Cole, I mean, he proved it there. I think on that play, I think he was particularly playing in the nickel. I want to say, I don't remember off the top of my head, but he could play anywhere. He could play in the nickel. He could play on the slide. He could play on the outside. He could play safety. He could do anything. So I'm very glad to have him back, and I'm glad that he was able to prove that he should be on the Eagles. Had an interception. Other than that, not really much to talk about. Isaiah Rodgers gave up a pass or two. Kind of disappointed there because I have some high hopes for him. Obviously, I'm not going to look too much into it because it's the preseason. But yeah, not really much to say on that. The defense looked pretty decent. I was happy that Nakobe Dean had the game that he did. I'm kind of hoping for more once the season starts because these Georgia boys, I'm going to be ranting about them if you guys catch my drift. Cole?
Yeah, so you're a big defense guy. I'm a pretty big offense guy. So I'll start with the offense. I agree. Tanner McKee should be the backup. Kenny Pickett, you said, he was bad. I want to point out the sacks. He got sacked 4 times. That's just unacceptable, in my opinion. I think it was 24 yards that he got sacked that you give up, and that's just something you need to keep in mind because you only passed for 67. So subtract that, you only passed for like 30 yards. So just not good at whatsoever. And then you look at the rushing. I mean, solid. I mean, I'm not even going to say solid game. I mean, it was a pretty horrible game. Average under 3 yards per rush. Your only highlight was TDP. Which was really all you had. And then Ngata from Clemson. He wasn't even good on Clemson. He had like 400 yards in his senior season. Anyway, he was solid this game, but yeah. EJ Jenkins was also solid. I mean, yeah, just none of these guys are really going to get any time. Will Shipley, I'm liking him as a receiving back, though. I will say that. He is solid in that, space. And I will point one guy out on the defense, Quinyon Mitchell. Oh my gosh, he is gross. I know you don't like him, Ryan, but he's growing on me a little bit.
He's growing on me too, I will say.
Dude, he has been locked down. I mean, he had a pass batted down. No one's catching anything off him either. So, I mean, it's just great to see, especially because we do need those corners, and we just haven't had great cornerback success in the past. And then Bradbury, I'm looking forward to what he's going to do. He's solid during the preseason, but in the regular season, eventually, I'm excited to see what he can do there. So yeah, other than that, Shout out Braden Mann. Shout out Jake Elliott. Bounced back from last week. 42-yarder. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I will say LA did have a better week. I'm very glad that he was able to make his kicks. But yeah, we can move on here to the Atlanta Falcons, who have made some pretty groundbreaking moves in this past week. They have filled out their defense by trading for Matthew Judon and signing Justin Simmons to officially pretty much fill out their roster, and probably the last big moves we're going to see before the season starts, obviously, unless Lamb and you get traded, but I don't see that happening. But nonetheless, the Falcons have filled out their roster, and they are ready to go all in on the core that they have. And Cole, I will start with you. Where do you see the Atlanta Falcons ending up this year when it's all said and done?
So I'll start with the regular season. I think that they will win their division by a pretty wide margin. The Buccaneers, they were good last year, but they lose Devin White. They don't have a good rushing offense. Baker, he's solid, but I don't know how their tight ends are gonna be as well. They had that one rookie, I forget his name. Was it Great or something?
Are you talking about Tampa has Otten?
Otten, yeah, Kate Otten. Yeah, he was solid for them. But I just don't know how good, they will be on the defensive side as well. They did lose, didn't they lose their corner? I think they lost their corner.
Yeah, they lost Carlton Davis.
There you go. But anyways, I think the Falcons should win this division easily. I'm looking at their offense. Kirk Cousins, Bijan. Then you got Algier backing him up. Drake London. They have a really deep wide receiver core. Ray McLeod, Darnell Mooney, Rondell Moore. They got Kyle Pitts as well. I don't like drafting him in fantasy, but I do it every year. This is a team that's just going to be solid all year round. They're not going to lose a bunch of games in a row. I can see them winning 12 games. They have a pretty easy schedule in the division that they're in. I said that the Panthers were going to do well this year, but, dude, the Falcons have just matured so much. I don't know if it's possible for them to place top 3 in their division. So they're not going to make the playoffs. But anyways, the Falcons, at this point, I could see them going to the NFC Championship game. I don't know what would hold them back. 49ers, they're solid. They're not going to have Ayuk, so it's just going to be Kittle. And, they're still going to have a very good offense, probably top 3 in the league. But anyways, Eagles, Lions, Falcons, and Niners are the biggest guys in the NFC. So, if they can, I think they can beat one of those teams to go to the NFC Championship, and then, it's just, how can Kirk perform in the playoffs from that point on? Ryan, I'll let you go now.
I don't disagree with you with them winning the division. It seems like they have overtaken Tampa Bay in roster strength. Yeah, there you go. There's talent. The one thing I will concern it with is how both teams perform in the beginning of the year. If the Falcons don't have that chemistry in the beginning of the year and they kind of slip up and Tampa Bay gets off to a hot start, that could be detrimental to the end of the year. But, the Falcons are in a really easy division. They play Carolina twice. They play New Orleans twice. Those should probably be around 4 wins there. And then you say you split with Tampa, maybe win the series season sweep. You possibly got 5 or 6 wins just right there. And then I think you can beat Pittsburgh. I think you can beat the Broncos. I think you can beat the Chargers, the Vikings, the Raiders, the Giants. Those are teams you could definitely beat. Maybe gave you around 10 wins, 9 wins, possibly. Once again, I think that it all depends on chemistry and how they, all come together in the beginning of the year. I like that Raheem Morris is now the coach for this team. Obviously, a defensive mind, but I think he's brought in some good offensive minds to get guys going. Even with the limited carries and limited time Bijan Robinson had it last season, he still had over 900 yards of rushing. I'm looking at Kyle Pitts, who still has all the talent in the world, hasn't lost a step in any way, shape, or form, just hasn't been used in the correct way or ability. I'm also looking at Drake London, who had a pretty good year last year. I mean, still almost had 1,000 yards with two quarterbacks, that being Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heineke. So, you got to look at that right there. I'm also a pretty big fan of Tyler Aguilar, who I took in fantasy this past week. He had over 600 yards of rushing and four rushing touchdowns last year. So I'm a pretty big fan of him. Hopefully, he'll be able to get some carries as well. So I'm looking at talent right here on the offensive side of the ball, and there really is no lack of it. And then you go over to the defensive side of the ball here, and honestly, they have a very, very good pass rush now. They don't really have any flaws there. You just brought in Matthew Judon, and your defensive line is nothing to, you know, really brag about. But at the end of the day, Grady Jarrett's still there. You still have your pass rush has now been upgraded to something. They had like the least amount of they had the worst pressure rate, I believe, in the NFL last year. And now that you bring in somebody like Matthew Judon, it won't be last, but it definitely will not be first with the defensive line that you do have. I do like your linebacker core. I think you have some underrated guys up in there. And then I'm looking at their corners. I mean, you have AJ Terrell there, who people are pretty high on. And then you obviously just brought in Justin Simmons. You have Jesse Bates as well. So I'm looking at all that right there, and I'm saying you have a decent defense. You have a team that can compete, a team that will probably end up in the divisional round. Obviously, is how Kirk Cousins plays when it comes to playoff time. I can't really get too hyped right now. I can't really analyze and give you the X's and O's of what this team is going to do because I'm not sure how Raheem Morris is going to run a team, and I'm not sure how this defense is going to be. I think I know how the offense is going to be. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be able to stay in the pocket, and I think that Drake London is going to be the receiver that he has always been. He can pretty much do everything on the field. I think Kyle Pitts is definitely going to be someone you're going to see over the middle a lot. Because he definitely can play as a receiver, but also as a big body. Someone's going to be able to break tackles. Bijan Robinson, he can pretty much do everything on the field. I expect to see him bouncing a lot to the outside because you have some really good blockers in there, like Kyle Pitts, like Drake London, and others. So I think that you have all that there. And when you put that all together, I think we have a team that could probably end up in the divisional round. I don't see them being better than the Philadelphia Eagles, Detroit Lions, San Francisco 49ers. Or the Green Bay Packers at this current moment in time. But yeah, I'd say at this current moment, I'd say that the divisional round is their ceiling. Cole, any final words?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. I don't know. I don't really have any more final words. I mean, I think that they'll be solid in the division, and I think they'll win the division.
You got an earthquake going on over there, my man.
Dogs are at the door. Probably
go do that if you need to. But yeah, we'll move on here in just a second. I actually want to talk about my fantasy team real quick here. So Cole, I did my fantasy draft during UFC during my UFC stream, and you got to rate this team for me. I personally think I had a great draft. Now, obviously, we have my fantasy draft on Thursday night. So I think I personally had a great draft. Now, this is actually Cole. There are 10 people in this league, and it's $35 per person. Winner gets $350. Nuts.
I like it.
I mean, you know what I mean. But anyway.
I mean, it's football season, baby.
I know.
I'm getting ready.
But anyway.
And I will say, I have been last in my last 3 fantasy leagues, and I really don't want to be last again.
Ooh.
So if I'm anywhere from in your league, how many people are in the one that we're drafting on Thursday?
Like 18.
Yeah, if I'm anywhere from 15 back, oh my gosh, I'm gonna crash out.
Anyway, so my quarterback, Jalen Hurts, Christian McCaffrey, David Montgomery, Jalen Waddle, Zay Flowers, Sam Laporta. Then we're going over to my the 2 flexes, Travis Kelce, Chris Godwin, kicker, Jake Elliott, Lions defense, my bench, Tua Tagovailoa, Raheem Mostert, Tyler Aguilar, Romeo Doubs, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Isaiah Likely, Jason Sanders, and the Ravens defense.
Oh, I love that.
So really what I want to do, the only thing I don't...
Alabama all over again.
The only thing I don't like about my draft is that I didn't get a number one wide receiver. But my thing is that Waddle's probably still going to have 1,000 yards this year, and Zay Flowers is probably going to get almost all the targets on the Ravens when they do throw the ball. Even though Andrews is there.
Isn't he a wide receiver one?
He is a wide receiver one. He is a wide receiver one. But something I do like about this team is that I have Jalen Hurts tush push for touchdowns. I have Christian McCaffrey, who gets a lot of touchdowns. I have David Montgomery, who gets touchdowns. I have Sam Laporta, who gets touchdowns. And I have Travis Kelce, who gets a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, and Mostert gets a lot of
touchdowns. And Mostert, who's on my bench. I want to use Tua as trade bait, though, because Tua passed for 4,000 yards last year, and I was able to get him in the 11th round.
Wow.
So I want to use him as trade bait for a number one wide receiver.
All right, I'm going to be back real quick. You start on the next topic. I'm going to grab a charger.
I got you. Go ahead. All right, so moving on to our next topic. We'll do a little bit of NBA talk here. So I hope I can pronounce his name right. Let me just pull it up here. Gorishan Yabusele is joining the Philadelphia 76ers after having an incredible Olympic run, dropping many points on Canada, USA, and others. This deal is a 1-year, $2.1 million contract. Yabusele is 6'8", 260-pound forward. He was picked by the Boston Celtics in 2016 in the very first round. Obviously, he did not pan out, and he went to go play in France. But now back with the Philadelphia 76ers after a very impressive Olympic showing. And I'm very happy that the Sixers signed Yabusele for the reason that he can score the ball. Now, obviously, is he going to score like he did in the Olympics? Most likely not. But if he can beat someone to average about 10 points off the bench and be that primary scorer off the bench, I would not be sad at all. The Sixers need forward bench depth. And honestly, we're looking probably at the best non-NBA player in the Olympics was Yabusele. So when you take all that into consideration and you think, okay, the Sixers need some forward help here, they're pretty light, and he's only still 28 years old, and he scored 22, 17, 20 against Canada, Germany, and the United States, respectively. Shot 66% from the field. All this against some of the best talent in the world. And Cole, as I mentioned before, when the talent level is higher than it ever was because of European competition basketball, I think that Yabusele should be a decent role player in the NBA. I can't tell you how he's going to play, but from what I saw from him, he can get offensive rebounds. He can put the ball back up. He can drive to the rim. Obviously, we know he can drive to the rim after dunking on LeBron James. His shooting is something to be desired. He can work on that, though. He's a good free throw shooter. In my opinion, a very low risk, high reward opportunity for the Philadelphia 76ers. Obviously, you're a team that doesn't have that much forward depth, so you're kind of taking a bit of a risk because if he doesn't pan out, I guess you could say Bona is going to be your forward, but he was a second-round pick and played in the Pac-12, so how much can he really produce? But you're taking a not that big of a risk. There obviously is some risk involved in this, but I think it's a low-risk, high-reward move overall. Cole?
Yeah, I completely agree. I like the signing. Yeah, I'm excited for what he's going to do. As long as he can dunk on Tatum one time, I'll be happy. So anyways, yeah, I think he'll fit in great with the roster. Obviously, backup power forward, like you said. We don't have any forward depth. All we had is KJ Martin and, a bunch of guys from the G League. But I am excited for what he's going to bring. I think he will be a good second rotation guy. He can hold down the bench with Lowry and Drummond and, those other guys pretty well. And, at this point, I think he replaces D'Anthony Melton, to be honest, kind of like a defensive X factor a little bit because he was solid in the Olympics guarding. I mean, it's not like he gave up a ton of points to, LeBron and KD. Oh, they both had like 15. But anyways, he's solid. He's very good on the offensive side. I did like how he shot the ball. Shot 45% for the Celtics. I mean, he was solid, averaged 2 points a game. I think most of that is just because he was young and a little bit immature, to be honest with you. So I think after coming back, getting a second chance, I feel like he'll be a little rejuvenated. 28 years old, I think he'll be solid. Again, like you said, high risk or low risk, high reward. You pay $2 million for a guy who scored 20 points on LeBron and dunked on him. So I don't know. I'm happy with the signing. I think he will be a good force off the bench. He's a big boy, so I'm excited.
I hope he can really grab rebounds. It's something the Sixers need, but they do have Andre Drummond, but always good to get a rebounder in there. Not really much more to say about that. I did make a full free agency video about what do you call it? About my reaction to pretty much all the moves, except for the bigger moves, because I've made separate videos about them. So if you guys want to go check that out, it's about a 40-minute video. So if you guys have 40 minutes to spare, make sure you guys go check that out. But anyway, moving on, we'll move back into the MLB before we wrap things up. Well, obviously, we got to get to the rants, but you get my point. So the Atlanta Braves, nothing short of unlucky this year. They have lost so many guys and have now lost their starting third baseman, Austin Riley, for 6 to 8 weeks. And this has definitely hurt their playoff chances. But Cole, you have something to say about their playoff chances. So go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, unless they can ride the starting pitching and the bullpen, I do not think that they'll make it. I mean, this pitching is very, 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 very good. I'll start with the bullpen. You got Aaron Bummer, Jesse Chavez, who's only good on the Braves. Raisel Iglesias, probably one of the best relievers in the league. Joe Jimenez, Pierce Johnson. I mean, they have a really, really good bullpen. I know Minter's out. I know, that other guy's out. They have one other guy who's out. But yeah, I mean, their starting rotation: Reynaldo Lopez, Charlie Morton, Chris Sale, Spencer Schwellenbach. I mean, this is a good starting rotation. They also got Max Fried. It's a great starting rotation, and I think if they ride the pitchers, I think they have a chance. But when you look at this offense, it's gotten worse and worse every week, Ryan. I mean, they just keep losing guys. It's so sad to see, but they keep losing guys. Travis Darno and Sean Murphy, catcher. But then your infielders, Orlando Arcia, Matt Olson, and Gio Urshela, obviously has some utility guys. Jared Kelenic, Whit Merrifield, Luke Williams, they can play in the infield. But I mean, Gio Urshela's going to have to step up and play third for them. He started with Detroit earlier in the year, but I mean, I don't know how much of an X factor he can be. Now you're going to have to rely on Matt Olson at this point because, I mean, you only have Ozuna and him, and Ozuna's not. I mean, he's kind of a leader, but then again, he's not really. When you think of the Braves, don't think of Ozuna. First come to mind. At least I don't. But yeah, I mean, I think as long as Matt Olson and Ozuna can lead the offense, and then the pitching, as long as the pitching's locked down and the offense can follow that, I think they have a chance. But right now, I'm going to say they don't make the playoffs because the Mets are too good. The Mets are too. Oh, whoa! They're not too good. Let me retract that statement. Their pitching needs work, but their offense has been solid the past couple weeks. Lindor, I think, is probably the best shortstop in baseball right now, other than in the NL, not the AL. But yeah, I mean, right now this team, they're fighting for their lives right now in the wild card, and they're going to need to pray that they don't lose this. What do you call it? Like game and a half on the Braves. There you go. So, you got anything else, John?
I mean, you're definitely not wrong about the X's and O's about how they have to, what they have to do to get there. But I would make the argument once again that other than the Mets, there's not really anybody else there to take their spot. Obviously, Atlanta's not getting above Arizona and San Diego. They have just been too hot in their in their last 10. They're both 7-3 in their last 10 games. So I wouldn't count on them. I wouldn't count on them losing their spots. And Atlanta, they're 6-4 in their last 10 on a 2-game win streak. The Mets, they're 4-6 in their last 10. So I'm not really that concerned for Atlanta. Do I think they'll make the playoffs? I personally think they do. Once again, Cole, you brought up their pitching. I think it's a lot better than the Mets currently. I think that the Mets, while they've realized that less is more, I don't think that it's going to be enough to, make the playoffs when it's all said and done. I think that, I think that Atlanta's just too talented.
Say one real quick. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think if the Mets had Kodai Senga, I think it'd be a different story, Ryan.
I mean, I think you're probably right about that. But at this point, it is what it is. So I don't know. I don't want to see either team make the playoffs. But at this point, you gotta choose. You gotta pick your poison here. Would I probably rather see the Mets? Yeah, because Atlanta's always a tough out, no matter what their record is and who they have in their lineup. But yeah, I think that Atlanta is pretty talented. Cole, you brought up the pitching. I think that guys will step up, Ozuna, Olsen, and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like they're pretty equal to the Mets in talent-wise. I think their pitching's a bit better, but now with all these injuries, they're a little bit more talented, or they're a little equal in talent when it comes to the hitting aspect. But I think pitching is what's going to take them there because it kind of pretty much has. Ever since Sale has stepped up after Strider has gotten injured, their hitting hasn't really been off the charts incredible. So yeah, I think that's it there. Any final words or? All right, so we're gonna move on. We'll wrap it up here with Ryan's rants. Cole, give me that first topic.
Russell Wilson.
All right, Russell Wilson. I don't really know what's going on here, but you went to Denver. Sean Payton complains about stuff. You're staying in the pocket too long. Bada beep, bada boo. You go to the Steelers, and you're doing the same thing. How many years have you been in the NFL, and you don't know what to work on and what not to work on? Listen, I get it's the preseason, and we don't want to look too far into the preseason, but come on, man. You got to look a little bit better than that. Obviously, we're going to have some criticism for you if you haven't looked good these past couple of seasons, and then you come out and you look like absolute trash, okay? Actually, he kind of did look like absolute trash. Didn't look as bad as Daniel Jones, but he looked pretty bad in that game against whoever the hell they were playing. I don't think that Russell Wilson put on a good performance at all, and Justin Fields is there lurking, waiting to take his spot. I think Russell Wilson needs to pick this up once the season starts because he most likely will be the starter. Hell, if I was paying him $1.2 million, I would be wanting to start him too. But Justin Fields is waiting, so Russell Wilson better pick this up and fix the things that we've been talking about for the last 2 years. Give me that second topic, Cole.
Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul still happening?
Does anybody even care? Does anybody even care about the spectacle anymore? Because I sure as hell don't. I mean, what is going on here today? I didn't even know there was a press conference yesterday, and there's all this pushing and shoving and words and bada beep, bada boo. I didn't know what the hell was going on with Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. I didn't know it was still happening. I knew it was still happening. I didn't know there was no press conference yesterday or whatever the hell it was. For whoever is clearing Mike Tyson to compete should be locked up or actually should just be banned from making any future boxing decisions for the rest of their lives. Whoever sanctioned this fight, whoever cleared Mike Tyson for this fight, has to be smoking something harder than Snoop Dogg. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. Move on to that last topic.
And the last one, not the Philadelphia Eagles, but the Georgia Eagles.
The Georgia Eagles, guys. Listen, Nakobe Dean didn't have a bad game, but this brother's got to pick it up once the season starts, man. I mean, this guy, these last couple of years, him and Jordan Davis have been first-team All-Pro on the injured reserve list. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. These guys are coming in here, all big shots, and then they can't do anything. I told you to draft Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. Listen, I might be a Notre Dame fan, and I might be a bit biased towards Kyle Hamilton. But damn it, I know he's a damn good player, and I know what he's talking about, all right? So Kyle Hamilton should have been drafted over Jordan Davis. But Jordan Davis has a chance to prove me wrong this year and actually stop the running back from gaining 5 yards per carry. But that's a different subject for another day. Jalen Carter, I don't have concerns about him. I know he gets double-teamed a lot, but when he goes one-on-one, he can bulldoze a truck. All right? But then I'm looking at Kaylee Ringo. I'm hoping he improved his game when it comes to defending the go route and post. I'm hoping he has worked on that in the offseason. I have not many concerns about him. Nolan Smith has actually had a very good preseason. But let me tell you something. It's the preseason. I don't overreact when people do bad. I'm not overreacting when people do good. He better keep that going once the season starts because I wanted to draft Brian Branch last season. But now Nolan Smith has a chance to prove me wrong. Has had a good preseason. I'm giving him a bit of slack right now. But once the season starts, I better see those every game sacks once again. I want these guys to have a good season, but we make it all good that all fine and dandy. The Philadelphia Bulldogs, the Eagles like that marketing name. Well, they're gonna like it a lot more if those guys go on the field and produce. Anything on these topics, Cole? You're muted. Cole, Cole, I don't think the people can hear you.
My bad.
You're all good.
Anyways, I will say one quick thing. Russell Wilson, I'll give him one thing to work on. Stop throwing pictures at the goal line, buddy.
Yeah.
That's my final word.
All right. But yeah, that'll do for this video. I'm doing my own. I'm doing my YouTube outro. Well, technically I'm on YouTube, but anyway. But yeah, we will probably get back on Twitter and talk about when our next edition will be. Most likely Wednesday or Thursday, and then after that, we will be back in studio, back in school, back to the work, back to the stress, back to sports, back to everything. I think my season starts for swimming in like in October.
I didn't know you were swimming.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me. Wait, did you swim before or no?
I swam a long time ago, but I'm back at it again.
There you go.
I got the long limbs, baby. Got them long limbs.
Grind. What can I say?
Ready to roll, baby. But I've been working in Center City for this entire summer for like every Sunday for like just swim training.
See what I did there though? You're committed to the grind.
There you go.
We'll drop that a little bit later.
I got you. But yeah, back in a few weeks, back to the work, back to the sports, back to the stress, and back to the grind of school. But anyway, that'll do it for the latest edition of the CR7 podcast, guys, and we will see you later. Peace. If it will let me in the stream. There we go.